Hey everyone, it's Belden. Welcome back. Today we're going to be painting Yuffie Kisaragi. I have a few of the pieces laid out here already. This is a little bit of a longer video, so grab some snacks, grab something to drink, sit back, and enjoy. We're going to be starting off with my usual white and black coats. This is something I do so it gives me a good base to work from. Let's get into it. I'm using a black primer here for my base because I'm going to be using some metallic paints. A couple of additions here, but specifically I wanted to point out that yellow flag. I made a mistake. I painted this black. I wasn't really thinking, and I should have done something like a white base. That would have made my yellow much easier to paint. The next few minutes, I'm just painting the metal and the wood objects with a black primer. This gives me a good base to work from. So now that the black primer is dry, I'm going to be using some wood color paint and making these tiles hopefully look more like wooden tiles. There's 3 tiles that look like they are clay, so I'm going to use a gloss on that and make those a little lighter and hopefully make them pop a little bit more. Here I am trying to paint in some fine details. I'm using a thin black brush and some very washed down black paint, and I just keep making mistakes. But that's part of the creation process, learning from my mistakes and getting better along the way. I really went back and forth and just wasn't terribly pleased with this base. So you'll see I made a number of different changes to it here and tried to just get it looking the way I wanted it to appear. Alright, we're back here on another day. Some of the paint's dried, the primer's dried. I've done some matte coat layers to protect them in between layers. So now that I've done that, I'm applying some skin tone finally and bringing Yuffie to life. When I paint by hand, I'm painting a lot of small details, so I typically hold the figure very close to my face. So you'll notice I zoom the camera in quite a bit because I'm holding the piece almost off camera when I paint these. The way my camera is positioned, it's hard to get that shot. I hope that's enough to give you guys a good angle to see what's going on still. Let me know in the comments below. Do you guys like the speed of this video? Should I cut those zoomed in shots out? I'm still figuring out my format, and hopefully we can build a better channel together. Here I'm coming in with my second layer of the gunmetal gray. I used a very light coat for the first spray, and then I came in with the second spray and made it a little heavier. And then with the third coat, I come in with a silver to highlight and to bring out the color of Yuffie Kisaragi. It's very light colored in the rendered image, and that's what I try to go off of. That little piece you can see is the antenna that broke off during the cleaning process, so I'm just painting it silver and I'll reattach it. Here I'm applying some orange paint. I use Silly Putty as a mask. I think that's a great little trick I learned from another fellow artist. The Moogle has a bright orange antenna and a bright orange button nose. So I really wanted to make sure those were highlighted and bright so they had a contrast against that white. Now that I'm painting her shoulder piece, I have to fix the mistake I made earlier, so I have to adjust that black. So I started with a light brown paint as a cover, and I'm going to slowly bring that yellow color back. I didn't like the color of the seat cushion, so I went with a thin black wash to give it some darker color and to hide that color that I wasn't fond of. Now that the brown is dried, I went back and I applied a thin layer of yellow. Unfortunately, I made another mistake and I thinned this yellow out way too much and it ran. And it looked terrible when it dried, so now I'm going to have to apply another coat to try to cover those mistakes. Luckily it's cloth, so I'm not too worried because the paint will just add some texture. With Yuffie's hair tie in the back, I was really pleased with how it turned out. I started with the green wash in the back, and then after that dried, I came back in with the dark green paint and did some minor touch-ups. Here I'm using some white to paint her shoelaces, and I am having a terrible time. I am not very proficient with fine line work. It's something I need more practice at, So this was just me learning. I'm trying to go slow, but my hand shakes a lot. With practice, my line should become clearer, a little sharper, and hopefully I'll get a more of a steady hand. I don't want these mistakes and this type of inability to prohibit me from painting and enjoying and creating, so I show these mistakes to hopefully encourage other people to not let them hinder your creation process. Have fun, learn, make mistakes. A famous artist we all know says there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. Try to remember that and keep painting and have fun. For my last few models, I have been printing decals for the eyes, and I have been really happy with how they turned out. But Yuffie has very small eyes, so the decals would have been smaller and more difficult to work with than they would have been to paint. So I worked on some more fine line work here and did my best to try to paint some nice detailed eyes for Yuffie. I'm happy with how they turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Yuffie should have a orange glove with a black arm guard, but when I was doing the colors, I was going from memory and I completely reversed them. And since this is going into my personal collection, I didn't bother to make the changes. It wasn't something that was going to annoy me. With her left hand, I realized that I had made a mistake and I'm fixing it and painting her glove the appropriate color. Her arm goes under her arm guard, and I should have painted her glove completely orange, but I thought her glove was covered by the guard, so I painted every single part of her glove except the part of the glove that was actually visible. When I printed her hand, I had a hole in her hand, and that was used to drain the resin out because I printed this hollow. So I used some Vallejo putty to fill in that gap. I will mold that ever so slightly to make it look like the glove, let it dry for a few minutes, and then I'll cover that with a nice orange layer. Here when I'm painting her leg, I applied just a thin piece of masking tape to help cover it in. I wanted to get in the top angle of her sock, and I needed to have some masking tape to be able to do that. This is the last of it. Now we're finishing the model. We're assembling the pieces. I use some super glue here to assemble the pieces, and I have a little bit of accelerator to help quicken that process as needed. And now we have the display. There is a lot of content creators out there. I am thankful for every one of you to take time to watch. I appreciate any comments you have, and if you'd be willing to give me a like and subscribe, it definitely helps the algorithm. I hope you all have a good day, and keep creating. I'll see you next time.